in infant and children living with HIV. And the speaker will be Professor N. Kameshore Singh. Professor N. Kameshore Singh, MD, PGI, MER, Chandigarh, CCT, TMH, Mumbai, DM Fellowship, Clinical Hematology, AIMS, is currently working as Professor and HOD of Pediatric JNIMS, Imphal, and Program Director, pCoE JNIMS. He has been in the State Health Service as a pediatrician for more than 20 years. He is also recipient of Pioneer Awards of East Zone Academy of Pediatrics in 2005. He has attended many NACO, WHO, and UNICEF trainings related to HIV/AIDS and working in this field for the last many years. He served as the Honorary State Secretary, Indian Academy of Pediatrics, Manipur State, and Joint Secretary, East Zone Academy of Pediatrics 2015. He has published many papers in both national and international journals. He has also presented papers in state, journal, national, international conference. Now, I hand over to Professor N. Kameshore Singh. Sir.
Thank you, Dr. Bambam. Today, I will talk on nutritional requirements in infants and children living with HIV. Nutrition in children, particularly during growth and development, is very important. Thank you. Particularly so in children living with HIV/AIDS, and it is also a great challenge to the pediatrician and the caregivers of the children living with HIV/AIDS. At the same time, it is a topic or a subject of great discussion among the parents as well as the caregivers. So, good afternoon, friends. Let us see the nutritional requirements in infants and children living with HIV/AIDS. The session objectives: at the end of this session, the participants should be able to understand how HIV affects the nutritional requirements of the body. We have to learn how nutrition affects the course and outcome of HIV infections, should know the energy needs of HIV infected children, and discuss management of malnutrition, and explain the importance of nutrition counseling during the treatment and the care of the children living with HIV/AIDS. We all understand that nutrition, one of the key aspects of management of people living with HIV, is often neglected. And at the same time, the interaction between HIV and nutrition is very complex. And it is established that 1/4 to 1/3 of the adults people living with HIV are malnourished. However, in children, severe malnutrition is nearly half of all children living with HIV/AIDS. And it is found that 40% of children less than 18 months of age has developed developmental delays. So let us see the interaction between HIV and the nutrition. So if there is malnutrition in HIV, it further weakens immune system, thereby increasing the susceptibility to opportunity infections, and it slower down the healing process. The response to treatment becomes poorer, and possibly it makes more repeat disease progression. So at the same time, if HIV infection occurs in a malnutrition or malnourished patient, it further reduces the food intake by the individual or child, increases nutrient needs during the infection, altered nutrient absorption, and at the same time also altered nutrient metabolism. Let us see the causes of undernutrition in HIV/AIDS. And the first discussion will be in HIV/AIDS how there is reduced food intake. The reduced food intake is mainly because of the inability to eat, as we all know that oral lesions such as painful oral ulcers, candidiasis in the mouth and the throat are common. There is also loss of appetite due to HIV infection and associated fatigue, depression and changes in the mental state during the illness with HIV. And food insecurity and poverty leading to poor access to food is also another factor. Continuing this reduced food intake, the physical handicap leading to difficulty in access and preparation of food is also one factor. For example, disease-related visual and the other neurological handicaps makes the individual handicapped to get food and leading to reduced food intake. Another thing is opportunity infections which are common during this illness. For example, tuberculosis. This will add to the existing loss of appetite, diarrhea causing malabsorption, the side effects of medications, particularly nausea, loss of appetite, altered taste in the mouth, diarrhea, vomiting, all these factors reduce food intake during the illness of HIV. And let us see how there is decreased nutrient absorption causing undernutrition in HIV/AIDS. HIV and other infections reduce the absorption of nutrients from the gastrointestinal tract. Diarrhea, which is common during this illness, results in malabsorption, leading to water and nutrient losses from the body. At the same time, medication also affect nutrient absorption. For example, co-administration of calcium and iron. There is also changes in metabolism when there is HIV infection. That is mainly because of increased breakdown of tissues. There is an increased energy requirement in children living with HIV/AIDS. And in asymptomatic individuals, during the asymptomatic phase, the energy requirements is increased by 10% of the normal individual. In the symptomatic phase, the energy requirement is increased by 20 to 30%. Deranged metabolism found in HIV infection causes weight loss, and there is also an imbalance between pro-oxidants and antioxidants, so leading to oxidative stress on the body requiring more energy. Oxidative stress contributes to HIV wasting syndrome also. So let us see the nutritional needs of the children during HIV infection. All children as such need adequate nutrition for growth and development. Energy and the protein needs of HIV infected children depend upon their age, growth pattern and the presence of associated complications. And these children have higher energy needs as compared to healthy children due to increased metabolic demands placed by HIV infection in these children, presence of associated opportunity infections and other chronic conditions like chronic lung diseases, tuberculosis, persistent diarrhea, further increase the metabolic demand even in children with a good nutritional status. So let us see the total energy needs of HIV infected children in terms of the kilocalories per day. In the age group of 6 to 11 months, the daily energy requirement of the uninfected children is 690 kilocalories per day, which is increased to 760 in asymptomatic HIV infected children, within a 10% increase of their additional requirement. And if the HIV infected child is having poor weight gain or other symptoms, this energy requirement is increased by an additional 20%, thus requiring 830 kilocalories per day. And it is again increased to 50 to 100% additional energy requirement in case of the severely malnourished HIV infected children. So thus the daily requirement is 150 to 220 kilocalories per kg per day. Likewise in 12 to likewise in 12 to 23 months, the daily requirement of uninfected children is 900 calories, and which is increased to 990 because of additional 10% requirement in asymptomatic HIV children, and increased to 1080 with an increase of 20% additional energy requirement in HIV infected, poor weight gain at the other symptomatic individuals. Therefore, it is more increase in severely malnourished and HIV infected, of course, after post-stabilization to 150 to 220 kilocalories per kg per day, which is equal to the same stage in 2 to 5 years old child for severe malnourished children, and for asymptomatic children it is 1260, symptomatic 1390, in uninfected children 1260, asymptomatic 1390, and symptomatic with poor weight gain 1510, and severely malnourished it is 150 to 220 kilocalories per kg per day. This is the present weight of that child. In case of the 6 to 9 years, the daily energy requirement of the uninfected children is 1650 kilocalories per day. In case of the asymptomatic HIV infected children 6 to 9 years, 1815. In case of symptomatic poor weight gain HIV infected children it is 1980, and in case of the severely malnourished HIV infected children it is 75 to 100 kilocalories per kg per day. In the age group of 10 to 14 years, the daily energy requirement of the uninfected children is 2020 calories per day. If it is symptomatic and the infected, asymptomatic, infected with HIV, it is increased to 2220. With symptoms and poor weight gain HIV infected children 2420, and in case of the severely malnourished and HIV infected it is 60 to 90 kilocalories per kg per day. So nutritional requirements of children living with HIV during the HIV infection is definitely increased. Similarly, protein requirement is also average protein requirement of 1 gram per kg per day. The fat requirement is approximately 20 to 30% of the total energy, which is to be provided by fat. At least 50% of fat intake should consist of vegetable rich in essential fatty acids. The amount of saturated, monosaturated and polysaturated fat to be contained in the diet should be respectively less than equal to 7%, greater than equal to 10%, and less than equal to 10% of the total calorie intake in this sin range. Micronutrient requirements: a daily dose of micronutrients providing recommended daily allowance of vitamins and minerals to be supplemented, particularly if the available diet are not balanced and do not contain a variety of animal source foods, fruits, and vegetables. Multiple micronutrient supplements may be given to those with vitamin or mineral deficiency, or those who are vulnerable to a micronutrient deficiency. So, nutritional management of a HIV infected child growing well. HIV infected children who are growing well and are asymptomatic, remember, need about 10% extra energy to maintain the normal growth and development and activities as compared to uninfected children of their age. And the additional energy is best given as an additional household food as a part of the daily balanced diet. Let us see the nutritional management of a HIV infected child growing poorly or having conditions with increased nutritional needs. Children with poor weight gain should have a complete assessment, including a detailed history and a thorough clinical examination, including evaluation for comorbid conditions like opportunity infections, for example, chronic lung disease, tuberculosis, persistent diarrhea, that may have surely an impact upon the nutritional requirement of the child. These children, if symptomatic, as I have mentioned earlier, require extra 20 to 30% energy each day. These are also best given through additional household foods. If not possible, specific nutritional supplements may be given till the underlying condition is effectively managed. The mother or the caretaker should be given dietary counseling, which is very important, and about meeting these increased nutritional requirements at home while caring a child with HIV. Additional energy requirements of HIV infected children and the means of providing them, let us see age-wise. In 6 to 11 months, if the child is asymptomatic with an additional 10% requirement, the requirement is 60 to 70 kilocalories per day, which is increased to 120 to 150 kilocalories per day if the infected child is poor weight gain or increased nutritional needs, that is 20 to 30% additional energy requirements. And let us see how this increase in energy requirement is being met by giving additional meals in addition to meals and snacks appropriate for that particular age. So in addition to the normal requirement, in the asymptomatic individuals, we have to add 2 teaspoonfuls of edible oil and 1 teaspoonful of sugar to porridge in addition to normal diet, which is the normal requirement of that child in that particular age. If the child is HIV infected and symptomatic, particularly poor weight gain and increased nutritional need, then we have to add 2 teaspoonfuls of edible oil and 1 to 2 teaspoons of sugar to porridge or other foods. So we aim to add 2 times per day in this children. But however, in case of the severely malnourished children, as they require 50 to 100% additional energy, therapeutic feeding to be done as per national guidelines with the aim to provide 150 to 220 kilocalories per kg per day. This is based upon the present actual weight of the child. So in case of the 12 to 23 months old child, in asymptomatic individuals, with the 10% addition, it comes to 80 to 90 calories per day. In case of the poor weight gain infected individuals with an increased requirement of 20 to 30%, the calorie comes to 160 to 190 kilocalories per day. These increased kilocalories above the normal requirement can be met by giving in asymptomatic children 2 teaspoonfuls of edible oil and 2 teaspoonfuls of sugar to porridge or a medium-sized banana. In case of the symptomatic, that is poor weight gain or increased nutritional, those having increased nutritional needs, we can give an extra cup of 200 ml full cream milk with 1 teaspoon of sugar or 2 big idlis or 2 slices of bread butters. Remember, in case of the severely malnourished children which requires 50 to 100% energy additional energy, the treatment is as per national guidelines with the aim to provide 150 to 220 kilocalories per kg per day, which is based upon the actual weight of the child. In the 2 to 5 years old children, the additional calories requirement is 100 to 140 kilocalories per day, asymptomatic group. If it is symptomatic and poor weight gain or increased nutritional needs, the calories is 200 to 280 calories per day. These increased required calories can be met, for example, by giving extra cup of milk or sweetened curd or 1 extra roti with vegetables or 1 parantha in case of the asymptomatic children. And the increased requirement can be given by 2 puris with vegetables or 1 cup porridge or 1 sikki 2 pieces in case of the poor weight gain or increased nutritional needs. And in case of the severely malnourished children, I have already mentioned that the daily requirement is 150 to 220 kilocalories per kg per day based upon the actual weight of the child. In the age group of 6 to 9 years, if the child is asymptomatic, then additional energy requirement is 130 to 190 kilocalories per day, which is increased to 260 to 380 kilocalories per day of extra energy in case of the poor weight gain and those individuals having increased nutritional needs of 20 to 30%. And in case of the severely malnourished children, based on actual weights, to give 75 to 100 kilocalories per kg per day. The above mentioned increased requirement can be met in case of the asymptomatic individuals by giving extra cup, that is 200 ml of full cream milk or 1 egg omelette or 1 extra roti with vegetables. In case of the symptomatic poor weight gain, those individuals requiring nutritional needs, we can give extra cup of full cream milk and 1 vegetable stuffed parantha, or 2 paranthas with curd, or halwa of 100 gram, or poha of 1.5 cups. So these are the examples of nutritions which can be given in this symptomatic and asymptomatic children. In the age group of 10 to 14 years, if the child is asymptomatic, then 170 to 230 kilocalories per day extra energy is to be given, which can be met by giving extra 1 roti in lunch and another in dinner with vegetables, or 1 dosa with sambar, or 1 stuffed parantha. This extra increased calorie is 340 to 400 kilocalories per day in case of the symptomatic, poor weight gain, or increased nutritional needs, which can be met by giving 1 egg omelette with 2 slices of bread, or 1 stuffed parantha and 1 cup of milk. And if the child is severely malnourished, the therapeutic feeding is as per national program, the aiming at to provide 60 to 90 kilocalories per day based on the actual weight of the child. So let us see how to manage severe acute malnutrition, which is usually known as SAM, which is also very important while giving care to a HIV child. By definition, severe acute malnutrition are those having visible wasting, bilateral edema, or weight for length or height in the Z-score less than -3 standard deviations. And this definition applies irrespective of taking ART or not, and this should be identified and managed correctly as per national guidelines, since they are at a very high risk of mortality. Children with SAM requires, as mentioned above, severely malnourished children requires 50 to 100% extra energy every day. This of course after the period for stabilization till nutritional recovery, which usually takes about 6 to 10 weeks. And they should be treated with therapeutic feedings. By period for stabilization, we mean to say these children may present with complications like hypoglycemia, hypothermia, severe infections, and other distress, which is to be stabilized first. And we have to start nutritional recovery in the next 6 to 10 weeks. So children with no medical complications may be managed at home if they still have a good appetite, which many a times may not be there. They can receive good supervision at home, and therapeutic feeds can be provided if we have done proper counseling for nutrition. Children who are sick and have associated complications like infections or a poor appetite or unable to eat, they must be referred for inpatient care in the designated centers, and where care is to be done by trained staffs with experience in nutritional rehabilitation, which is very important. This is to decrease the morbidity and the mortality associated with this severely malnourished, that is having severe acute malnutrition. The nutritional management of HIV infected, severely malnourished children is largely the same for other severely malnourished children. In addition, these children infected with HIV should be evaluated at ART centers for exclusion of opportunity infections, including tuberculosis, and assess for ART if they are not receiving it already. So, continuing the management of severe acute malnutrition, if a child already on ART and is found to have SAM, then he or she should be evaluated for treatment adherence to see the intake of the ART, treatment failure, or any development of new opportunity infections, which are very important. For details on management of children with SAM, further reference can be made to WHO Nutrition Guidelines for HIV-infected children with severe acute malnutrition. Supportive measures. We all know that supportive measures, supportive management is very important during the treatment or during the care of a child with HIV/AIDS. So, we have to ensure adequate micronutrient intake through balanced diet. Otherwise, we have to give a daily supplement that provides 1 RDA or vitamins and other nutrients. We have to give vitamin A supplement every 6 months for children up to 5 years, and we start usually with when the child comes during 6 to 12 months with 1 lakh international unit oral dose, and if the child is between 1 to 5 years, we give 2 lakhs international units orally, and as I have mentioned, it is to be repeated every 6 months up to the age of 9 years for a total of 9 doses. Children 6 months to 5 years of age should receive iron and the folic acid supplements. The 20 milligram elemental iron and the 100 microgram folic acids for 100 days in a year after recovery from acute sickness can be given as per the national guidelines as per the weight bands. Deworming is also another important supportive measure which can be done every 6 months. The usual dose is 400 milligram orally of albendazole every 6 months after 2 years of age. Usually 1 to 2 years we give half of this dose. We have to continue cotrimazole prophylaxis as indicated. In patients with recent history of diarrhea, we also give 20 milligram zinc daily for 2 weeks if it is above 6 months of age. Below 6 months, we give 10 milligram daily for same duration, that is 2 weeks. At the same time, we encourage regular play activities and exercise of the child, and we should not forget to administer the recommended childhood immunization while giving care of a child with HIV. Now let us see feeding a child during illness. Really, it is a challenge to feed a child when they are sick, having poor appetite during this sickness. Therefore, we have to make the child comfortable. We have to be patient while feeding a child, and we should feed slowly. And we should feed small amounts frequently. And we see the foods and consider the child's likeness. We have to give a variety of foods and extra fluids Pay attention to the child and make feeding time pleasurable to the child. And it is also very important how to feed a child during recovery. We have to give an extra meal feed during the recovery. Give extra amount of food when the child is in recovery phase. Use extra rich foods. Feed the child with extra patience. And if the child is on breastfeeding, give extra breastfeeding or fluids, whatever required. Let us see the practical guidelines for nutritional management of children. The quantity and the frequency of food is increased as the child grows. It is universally understood and recommended. The food consistency is also gradually made thicker and a variety introduced, adapting to the child's requirement and ability of consuming the food. Integrated management of neonatal and childhood illness guidelines for feeding healthy children of different age groups may be followed while counseling these children. So let us see the nutrition management as per the age. Up to 6 months of age, breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding at least 8 times in 24 hours, and we can give 8 to 12 times so that the child sleeps for 2 to 3 hours or 2 hours or so and passes 6 to 8 times urine. And during exclusive breastfeeding, we don't give any other food or fluid, nor even water. Of course, medication and the vitamins are allowed. During the 6 to 12 months age period, if the child is breastfed as often as the child wants, that is demand feeding. Give at least 1 katori serving, that is approximately 150 ml at a time of mas roti or rice, bread, biscuit mixed with sweetened undiluted milk, or mas roti, rice, bread mixed in thick dal with added ghee or oil, or khichdi with adequate oil ghee. We have to add cooked vegetables in the serving. This is according to the local availability, affordable and culturally accepted in the particular culture. So in case of more than 12 months and less than 2 years, breastfeeding to be continued, and we should remember that from 6 to 12 months the child should be trained to give different types of food, so that by 12 months we offer food from the family pot. During this age group, we give at least 1.5 katori servings, that is approximately 225 ml at a time, which can be mas roti, rice, bread mixed in thick dal with added ghee, oil, or khichdi with added oil, ghee. Add cooked vegetable also in these servings. Another serving can be mas roti, rice, bread, biscuit mixed in sweetened undiluted milk. Roti, rice, bread according to the local availability. If the child is 2 years and older, we have to give family food at least 3 meals each day. And also we give twice daily nutritious food between meals in the form such as banana, biscuit, chiku, mango, papaya as snacks. So remember 3 meals and 2 snacks. So continuing those feedings as per the age group, in the 6 to 12 months, the options which in addition to which has been mentioned above, sevians, dalia halwa, kheer, which can be prepared in milk, or any cereal porridge cooked in milk. Another option is mass boiled fried potatoes. And remember that the frequency of feeding in these 6 months to 12 months is 3 times per day if the child is breastfed, and if the child is not breastfed, then we have to give 5 times feeding. In case of the 12 months to 2 years, the options in addition to those which have been mentioned in the previous slide, we can give sevians, dalia, halwa, kheer prepared in milk, and any cereal porridge cooked in milk. Another option is mass boiled fried potatoes. Also give nutritious foods between meals, such as in the form of banana, biscuit, chiku, mango, papaya, in the form of snacks. So here we give 5 times, which I have already mentioned, 3 main meals and 2 snacks. So continuing the same, in the age group of birth to 6 months, we have to continue breastfeeding during the illness of the child. And remember, during sickness, the child usually accepts the mother's milk. And in the age group of 6 to 12 months, we have to remember that the child being kept in our lap and fed with our own hands. And we should wash the hands of the caregiver as well as the child's hand every time before feeding. In the age group of 12 months to less than 2 years, we have to ensure that the child finishes the serving, and we should wash the child's hand. During this time, we should allow the child to take by themselves. Of course, the caregiver has to help them. In the age group of 2 years and older, in this age group also, we have to ensure that the child finishes the serving. Teach the child wash his hands with soap and water every time before feeding. Of course, after feeding also, they have to wash their hands. Let us see age-related intake standards for children according to the age. So in 6 to 11 months, if breastfed, okay, breastfeeding on demand. Otherwise, we require 100 ml of milk in addition to food cooked. For example, half katori cereals 3 times per day in breastfed. If not breastfed, we can give half katori cereals 5 times per day in addition to vegetables, dal, egg, half katoris and half egg respectively. And that will give approximately 645 kilocalories. In case of the 12-24 months, milk tone can be given 500 ml. Cooked food can be given 1 katori cereals 3-4 times per day, plus 3/4 of the 3/4 katori of vegetables along with 3/4 katori dal and 1 egg, so that it gives 925 to 1000 kilocalories. In the age group of 2 to 5 years, toned milk can be given 500 to 750 ml with cooked food of 6 to 8 cereal exchanges per day, plus 1 katori vegetable, 1 katori dal and 1 egg, so that it approximately gives 1100 to 1250 kilocalories. In the age group of 5 to 9 years, toned milk can be given same 500 to 750 ml with cooked food of 8 to 10 cereal exchanges per day plus 2 katori of vegetable, 2 katori of dal, 1 egg to give approximately 1350 to 1650 kilocalories. In the age group of 10 to 14 years, the same amount of toned milk can be given, that is 50 to 500 to 750 ml, and the cooked food which can be given is 12 to 14 cereal exchanges per day plus 3 katori of vegetables, 2 katori of dal and 2 eggs, so that it gives approximately 2000 to 2200 kilocalories. And let us see the different cereal exchanges. So cereal exchange list: 1 chapati 20 gram, 1 bread slice, half katori khichdi. These are the exchanges. Half katori suji kheer, half katori rice. Another is half katori upama, half katori poha, half katori dalia, half katori vermicelli. This is this. We have to adjust these food exchanges according to the local availability and the cultural acceptability, and this is our individual requirement. So another exchange is 1 medium idli, 8 ml oil, 100 gram fruits, half small potato, 2 sweet biscuits and 3 salty biscuits. These are the different these cereal exchanges which we have mentioned in the previous slide. Remember, 1 katori which is of medium size is capacity is 150 ml. 1 egg is equivalent to 2 pieces of non-veg or 30 gram of paneer and 100 gram of curd. So remember, if the individual is a vegetarian, then we have to substitute egg with milk products. So let us see the key points of today's session. Remember, 40% of children living with HIV/AIDS in the age group of less than 18 months of age, they have developmental delays. Malnutrition and HIV suppress immune response, complement each other in enhancing the morbidity and the mortality of the children living with HIV/AIDS. Prevention of malnutrition and wasting syndrome will be very, very important. We have to include variety of foods with enough vitamins and minerals, and regular visits, medical consultation are important for early detection and the treatment of infection and also any malnutrition and underweights. Thank you for patient hearing.
If there is any queries from the listener side, can be asked now since we have some time. Okay, since we don't have any queries now, thank you Professor N. Kameshore Singh for today's session and explaining in detail about the nutritional requirement during sickness with the example. Hope all the listeners understand the importance of nutritional counseling and in the management of HIV care, how adequate nutrition is necessary for proper growth and to prevent developmental delay, which is usually seen in 40% of children living with HIV under 2 years. Thank you all for making this a successful session with your presence. And now we come to an end of today's session and hope to see you all soon.